Okay, Altaf Sahab, we are live on Facebook and we will start our meeting today.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening to all the participants who have joined us today on JK Scientists Outreach 2020. We are joined today by Dr. Altaf Sahab. Dr. Altaf Sahab is an assistant professor and coordinator at the Center of Interdisciplinary Research at University of Kashmir. Dr. Altaf has done his PhD from Lowell Cancer Center at Lowell University in Canada. He also did his postdoctorate from Boston, Harvard, US. Today, Dr. Altaf Sahab will be with us for around 1.5 hours, and Altaf Sahab will discuss with us his journey from his undergrad to the place where he is currently. Altaf Sahab will also discuss with us the research opportunities at his center, and also he will give advice and take questions and give answers to those questions asked by our participants. To all our participants who have joined us today, we have taken some prior questions during your registration process, and we will take a few questions on our Zoom platform for our registered participants only. Maybe if we find some time at a later stage, we can take some questions from our Facebook Live as well. We are live on Facebook also. Thank you, Altaf Saab, for joining us today. I, on behalf of JK Scientists, welcome you to this outreach session. Thank you so much, Altaf Saab.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on JK Scientists. And, it's a privilege and honor for me to talk about, research opportunities at University of Kashmir in general and Center for Interdisciplinary Research in particular. Yeah, thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Altaf Saab. Altaf Saab, may we just start with, just please give us a brief background of your studies that you have done your undergrad from which place, your master's from which place, and how you went to Canada and what you are largely focused on in your research programs.
Okay, so I was, I was born in southern Kashmir in Anantnag district. So I did my schooling from a local school in our village, and then my undergraduation from Government Degree College Anantnag. Then I moved to University of Kashmir and did my master's in Department of Biochemistry. And after my master's, I moved very briefly to Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research, where I worked with Professor Tapas Kundu on understanding, epigenetic mechanisms in gene regulation. And from there, I moved to Laval University, Canada, for my PhD. And the focus of my PhD was mostly on understanding epigenetic, mechanisms in regulation of gene expression and genome integrity. And after my PhD, so I moved to Harvard Medical School for my postdoc. And I continued in the same field. The major focus of my postdoc was, epigenetics and gene expression and genome stability. Then in 2013, I moved back to Kashmir University as a Ramanujan Fellow and Assistant Professor and joined Department of Biotechnology in the year 2013. And since then, I'm working here as an Assistant Professor. And more recently, I think since last year, I'm also heading the newly established Center for Interdisciplinary Research at University of Kashmir, which was established last year basically to promote interdisciplinary research at University of Kashmir. So the focus of my research lab is on different themes, on different aspects, but the overall theme of our research is epigenetics, how epigenetic mechanisms control genome organization, how it regulates genome stability, how it is involved in, in disease processes like non-alcoholic fatty liver diseases, in cancer biology. And we're also looking at, using these epigenetic machineries or epigenetic players as therapeutic targets in various diseases, mostly in cancer and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So this is the overall, the theme of my lab. And then there are various aspects that we study, but the broader theme is epigenetics and chromatin.
Altaf Saab, as I understand that you came back to the valley and joined the University of Kashmir as a Ramanujan Fellow. So can you just give a brief of this fellowship in just 2 or 3 minutes to make our participants understand what this fellowship is all about?
Okay, so Government of India has started not only Ramanujan Fellowship, but a couple of more fellowships like Ramanujan Fellowship, Ramalingam Swami Fellowship. Then you have DBT Welcome Trust. You have overseas energy bioscience fellowship. So the aim of these fellowships is basically to bring back talented young researchers from who are outside India back to the country. So I came through this program. I applied for this fellowship, I got it, and then came back to Kashmir University. So these fellowships are largely for researchers who are outside India, who are doing postdoctoral work outside India and have at least 2 to 3 years of postdoctoral experience.
Okay, so Altaf Saab, you have established this center at University of Kashmir. So
Right.
this center also largely focuses on epigenetics. So can you just give us an idea about who are the people that work with you, your team as well?
No, so I'll give you a brief overview about the center, like what is the aim, what is the purpose of having Center for Interdisciplinary Research at University of Kashmir, and then I'll also talk about what its mandate is, what our future plans are. So basically, University of Kashmir established Center for Interdisciplinary Research and Innovations in the year 2019. It was largely, by our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Talat Ahmed, who is extremely supportive for research-related activities. So it was his vision and his support, and without that, it would not have been possible. The main objective of the Center for Interdisciplinary Research and Innovations is basically to attract talented young researchers from abroad through prestigious fellowships like Ramanujan, as I said, Ramalingam Swami, Welcome Trust, DBT, India Alliance, across various disciplines. After due evaluation of their credentials, quality of work, and requirement to our requirement as well. And the center would basically harbor a research ecosystem which will promote cutting edge interdisciplinary research at University of the Kashmir. Because I think the purpose of the center is, again, it will break the boundaries that usually we see in the state universities, where you belong to the one subject and you are not eligible in the another subject. So to break those barriers and to develop a research ecosystem which will promote collaboration, which will promote innovations, which will promote interactions across disciplines, is the basic purpose of this center. And this center in the process basically would integrate various disciplines in the university for collaborative research, and will serve as a model to inspire youth to take up research as a career. And it is basically the whole process, the whole objective of the center will ensure creation of human resource pool, and it will also help. It's a brain circulation. So we are only hiring people, we are only recruiting people in Center for Interdisciplinary Research through Ramanujan, Ramalingam, or Welcome Trust DBT fellowships. So it will help. It's an initiative for brain gain. So to bring back people, to establish research groups, and to do quality research at University of Kashmir. Yeah. And I'll add a few more things. So basically we are our aim is to recruit around 20 to 25 Ramalingam or Ramanujan fellows over a period of 5 years, as I said, based on their credentials, relevance to our needs. And these fellows would be, would come from across disciplines. It's not only from biology, they can come from biomedical engineering, chemistry, physics, math, earth environmental science. So there are no disciplinary boundaries in Center for Interdisciplinary Research.
So that makes me understand that this Center of Interdisciplinary will be an inclusive kind of a department where we will have people from diverse backgrounds.
Oh, absolutely.
And they can have their independent labs and establish their independent infrastructures.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Absolutely. So we have basically, the center has almost all the basic requirements that you need as a researcher. When you come back to for example, Kashmir, you expect that there will be nothing, right? But what we are aiming and what we have done so far, that we have established all the basic things that a researcher needs when he comes to Kashmir University. And in another 6 months to 1 year, we are adding number of high-end instruments like mass spec, confocal microscopy, TEM, amino acid analyzer. So we are adding a lot of big equipments to the center, and it is also going to have a central instrumentation facility where we are going to have all these big instruments. And these instruments will come in another 6 to 1. We are hopeful that in 6 months, we are going to have all these instruments in the center. So it will have all the infrastructure that will be required to do quality research here at the university.
So Altaf sir, when you were last working at Harvard Medical Center, and then you came back to the Valley through Ramanujan Fellowship. So how competitive is this Ramanujan Fellowship, and what things had you in mind that you decided to apply through Ramanujan Fellowship, not through other fellowships, or not directly as an assistant professor through open advertisements in different universities?
No, see, the problem with open advertisements is, the frequency of the turnover in universities for recruitment is very slow. A department basically hires people once in 8 or 9 years. When somebody retires or when new positions come up, then only a department hires people. I mean, the recruitment happens. I have not seen in the university a recruitment happening in less than 5 years. So the another alternative of coming back to if you want to come back to Kashmir, I think these fellowships provide a very good opportunity to come to the Kashmir University or come to any part in the country. So if you wait for the regular position, I mean, you never know when the regular position is going to come up. So it takes much longer time for the regular positions to open, and then advertisement and other processes takes time. But these fellowships, for example, Ramanujan Fellowship is open throughout the year. So you can apply whenever you want to apply. And they basically, the selection committee sits, I think, twice a year. So every 6 months, you have a list of fellows who got Ramanujan Fellowship. The Ramalingam Swami Fellowship is once in a year. The Welcome Trust DBT is again, it's every year. So these fellowships will, whenever you are, because when you are working as a postdoc, you want to have your 3-4 years postdoc or maximum 5 years. You don't want to stay postdoc forever. You don't want to stay postdoc for more than 5 years. So if you are lucky, some position comes up, a permanent position comes up, a regular assistant professor position comes up, you can apply. But as I said, the frequency of these positions coming up in the universities is very slow. And the best alternative for that is through these fellowships. Now, what you need for a Ramanujan or a Ramalingam Swami Fellowship is basically you need to have good CV. That is the first criteria. And second, you need to put up a very decent proposal, a very good proposal that it's not a big proposal. It's just 6-7 pages proposal that you can put together for this fellowship.
Okay, so I just wanted to make our participants, especially we were targeting today our postdocs who are doing their jobs outside the valley, but we all simultaneously also wanted this program to be inclusive in a sense that PhDs and masters may also get benefited through it. But specifically, I just want to ask you, Altaf Saab, how competitive is this Ramanujan Fellowship, and what things must, for example, I as a candidate keep in mind before applying for Ramanujan Fellowship?
So whether it is Ramanujan, Ramalingam, or Welcome Trust DBT, I think all the fellowships are very competitive. So as I said, you need to have one big paper in your postdoc. That is one criteria. Okay, but having a good paper doesn't assure you that you will get a fellowship. So you need to put up a very good proposal, okay, which is doable and which is very clear. So you need to have a very clear idea. You need to have very crisp objectives, how to address that problem. So basically 2 things. You need to have a good CV, you need to have good publications, and you need to have at least one good paper in your postdoc. And second, a research proposal. So if you have these 2 things, I think then it makes things a little bit easier. There are around, I would say, for Ramanujan Fellowship, because the Ramanujan Fellowship is open for all disciplines. If you are a chemist, if you are a earth scientist, if you are a mathematician, if you are a physicist, so you are eligible for Ramanujan Fellowship. So that way, Ramanujan Fellowship is a little bit more competitive, because for every discipline, they give around 10 to 15. For biological sciences, every year they give around 15 fellowships. Overall, they give 50 fellowships per year. But for biological sciences, I have not seen more than, I have always seen between 10 to 50. And same thing with other streams. For Ramalingam Swami Fellowship, it is only for people from life sciences. So if you are a chemist, physicist, or mathematician, so you are not eligible for Ramalingam Swami Fellowship. And that way, I think that I would say the competition is a little bit less, because it's only biological sciences, and they give around 50 fellowships per year. And then Welcome Trust DBT is, again, it is, I think I would say it is more competitive than both Ramanujan and Ramalingam Swami, because the number of fellowships they give every year, it's around 5 to 6. And they say it clearly that if we won't find a suitable candidate, we may not give it to anybody. And if we find competent people, we may give it to all of them. So in Welcome Trust DBT, there is no limit. They may not give it to anybody, or they may give it to all the people who get shortlisted for interview.
Okay. So Altaf Sahab, I think we have a lot of questions today. Intermittently, I'll be taking some questions. We have one question from Mr. Mudabir, who is at Concordia University. So he's saying that what's the future hold of returning scientists from abroad in your newly opened research institute? So he means that, for example, what is the prospects of the university hosting them once the fellowship is over?
Oh, okay, yeah. I think it's a very good question, because it's a very tough decision also when you want to come back from abroad, whether you are in Europe, US, or anywhere in the world. Coming back is a tough decision. It is not easy, because there are challenges, there are advantages and disadvantages, whether you live there or whether you live here. And it is a very tough decision. And one of the reasons is, I think, which basically helps people to opt for, like, for example, for Kashmir University or other universities, is the job security. So job security is, I would say, it is one of the important components which help us in decision making. And so I would say one thing, that University of Kashmir is the only university so far I have come across which has a council order. Council is the highest governing body of the university, okay, which has a council order which says that Ramanujan, Ramalingam, or Welcome Trust DBT fellows would be taken on a permanent position at the end of their fellowship. So there is a commitment from the university that you will be absorbed on a permanent basis once your fellowship tenure ends. But having said that, it's not that somebody comes and he sits here and then expects that after 5 years he will be absorbed as a permanent faculty. That's not going to happen. At the end of your 5th year, I think you will be evaluated by a selection committee which will decide whether what you have done in the last 5 years. And if they feel that you have done reasonably well in terms of grants, in terms of publications, I think then you have you have a good chance of getting absorbed as a permanent faculty.
So we have another question from Wes. Wes says that how different is it for a researcher to pursue his research at Kashmir, or what ease does Kashmir University offer vis-a-vis this research to the young bright minds?
See, I would say, I think 8-9 years back, I think if we compare situation 8-9 years back, what it was at Kashmir University, I think there's a huge improvement. And there are signs of, you can see the signs of improvement in terms of quality of research that is happening at University of Kashmir. So over the last 7-8 years, there is a huge improvement in terms of the quality of research that is being done at University of Kashmir. 2, the infrastructure that has been put in place for doing quality research at university. And this infrastructure is again going to be augmented, as I said, with the with the introduction of high-end instruments like mass spec, confocal, and other equipment is from other disciplines. So in terms of equipment, in terms of infrastructure, I think we have come a long way, and we are hopeful that we are going to make it better. Now, challenges are there. I mean, I think challenges are everywhere. But one thing I will say that I think research runs on two things. One is the idea, and second is the money. If you have a good idea, I think if you put up a very good proposal, you have every chance that you will get it funded. And if you are able to get money, I think you will be able to do good research. I mean, yes, there are certain, as I said, there are infrastructure wise, we are not as advanced as Indian Institute of Science or National Center for Biological Sciences, but I think we are, moving into on that path, and hopefully within a year or so, we will have much better infrastructure in place for the people that will be truly welcoming for the people who will come back to Kashmir University.
So we have a question from Tafim Masoodi. Tafim says that what are the most important criteria that decide the fate of your application, specifically for these re-entry fellowships?
At the university?
No, sir. What are the most important criteria that decide the fate of your applications, specifically these re-entry fellowships?
No, I mean, there are two criteria. There is when you approach a host institute, there will be the first kind of scrutiny at the host institute to decide which application will be forwarded to the funding agency and which application will not be. So that will be one criteria. The second criteria happens at the funding agency, because so the Ramanujan Fellowship is provided by the DST. So DST has a panel of it has a selection committee which basically decides who will get the fellowship and who will not get the fellowship. So it basically depends on mostly two things. One, publications, and research proposal. So these are the two deciding factors which will decide whether you will get the fellowship or not. Your research proposal and the publication is that you have.
So one of the important questions that Mr. Yunus has asked is that, how do you see the creation of jobs outside academic institutions where, say, fresh PhDs can start their career? Say, for example, you have created this interdisciplinary center. Can there be possibilities for scientists like you to create more institutions of similar kind, or more centers for similar kind, where PhDs, fresh PhDs, say can start their career?
See, for fresh PhDs, I would say, I think, one possibility will be they can apply for postdoctoral fellowships like Inspire, like Inspire is a faculty fellowship. They can apply for National Postdoctoral Fellowship. They can apply for Kothari. They can apply for other postdoctoral fellowships. And I think, if we get good candidates, we'll be happy to support them at Center for Interdisciplinary Research. Point number one. Two, there are other universities like Central University of Kashmir, Islamic University of Science and Technology. I think they have taken a cue from Kashmir University, and they have also started working on these lines to establish centers at their universities as well. So hopefully, I think we are going to see more such centers in other institutions in the state as well.
So are there any opportunities in your center specifically for PhD students and master's students, apart from researchers post PhD?
You mean in terms of jobs?
No. I mean, are there any opportunities for master's students? I mean, do you have any specific programs for master's students?
No, masters, we have not. No, we have not. I think that, as I said, the center was started. It was established last year, and we started working from, I think, March this year. So we shifted to the new center in March 2020. So right now we don't have a master's program. So in future, we have not decided about it. But what we are going to do, we are going to offer internship programs for undergraduate and master's students at the center. And in addition to that, we are also going to provide, workshops for high-end instrument, hands-on training for high-end instruments for, PhD students, for college teachers and other university faculty members as well. So our aim at present would be, what we aim is to have internship programs for undergraduate and graduate students, so that more and more people will, get motivated towards science and opt science as a career.
I mean, we have a very important question being asked by a number of people, and I have this thing at the back of my mind also, that prior to applying for different fellowships, be
Right.
that Ramalinga Swami, be that Inspire Fellowship or other fellowships, it's kind of a difficult process to find a host institute, or if you find a host institute, it's kind of difficult to motivate them. I mean, I don't know, there might be different reasons for them also, but many people have complained of not being entertained when it comes to hosting a faculty. So have you personally faced this, or how do you ask people to not bother about it, or give them suggestions to avoid this kind of conflict?
No, I think, see, as I said, like, I think the situation that was here 7-8 years back, there is a dramatic shift in that. Okay. So it's not that we don't want people who are talented, who are well trained. We will always welcome them. But there is a see, for example, I will give an example at Center for Interdisciplinary Research. The center has been established basically to promote interdisciplinary research, right? So we cannot accommodate people only from biological sciences, right? So we need to look for people from chemistry, from physics, from biomedical engineering, from earth environmental sciences, from computer sciences. So at some point of time, at present, what we have done, so right now we have 5 scientists at Center for Interdisciplinary Research. We have 2 Ramanujan fellows, we have 2 Ramalingam Swami fellows, and we have 1 Wellcome Trust DBT fellow. And they work on different, areas of biology. One works on genome organization. The other, the Ramanujan fellows, he works on gene regulation. Then we have a structural biologist. We have a bioinformatician, and then we have a person who works on neurobiology. Right now, our focus, or our future, our focus at present is basically to get people from other streams as well. We cannot develop a interdisciplinary research center having 90% of people there from biology background, right? So we need to have people from other streams as well. So right now, what we are looking for people from chemistry, physics, math, earth environmental sciences, or even from computer sciences. But having said that, it is not that we have completely closed doors for people from biological sciences. If we get an extraordinary candidate, if we have a bright candidate who brings unique expertise to the center, we'll be happy to support you.
So there's one question from Mr. Salim Yusuf. He says that what opportunities does University of Kashmir in specific, in general, and your center in specific have for postdoctoral programs? Can it host PDFs?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are a number of postdocs working in the universities who are working on different fellowships. There are 4 or 5 people who have National Postdoctoral Fellowship. There are a number of people who have CIRI Fellowship. So it basically, I think, so far how it was working, the candidates will contact the PIs, and then the PIs will sponsor their applications. Okay, so there is nothing like a centralized way of getting the applications and then sending them to the funding agency. So one way, if somebody wants to do postdoc at University of Kashmir or even at Center for Interdisciplinary Research, I think they can contact the head of the department, or they can contact, suppose I'm currently heading this Center for Interdisciplinary Research. So if somebody is interested to apply for a postdoctoral fellowship from Center for Interdisciplinary Research, I think we'll be happy to help and support.
So, what are you? Since you have been in different countries, say Canada, you did your PhD, then you moved to US to do your postdoc. So, how different is working atmosphere at Kashmir? I mean, it must be a challenge for a young researcher. So, did you face any issues while you came back to Kashmir to settle down for a period of time, or it was a smooth cakewalk?
No, I think it is. I mean, forget about US or Canada. I think even when we compare the research culture at University of Kashmir with other Indian universities, I think there is a huge difference even in that. Okay, so I mean, we all are aware about the circumstances and the situation here, and that has an impact on how the research is being done here. But there are challenges, but I believe that every challenge gives you an opportunity to do something different. And I would say, if I would have stayed outside, if I would have stayed in US, Europe, if I'm able to achieve 10% of that here in the Kashmir at Kashmir University, I will feel more satisfied. It's not only about, there are challenges, there are enormous challenges, but if you are determined to do something, if you are determined to bring a change, I think, you have, the God has given you in, tremendous capability to stand all these, challenges. So there are problems, but things have smoothened a lot over the last few years. There is a huge change in terms of the mindset, in terms of the research culture, in terms of the facilities, in terms of the human resources that is being put together here for promotion of research. So I would say when I joined, since then there is a huge change, there is a dramatic shift in the conditions, to do research here.
So also one of the important questions from Dr. Riaz, he says that we have seen number of backdoor entries previously at different universities in Jammu and Kashmir. So how does this current process make sure only deserving candidates are selected?
See, I mean, the selection process that happens at the university, that is completely a different thing, in the sense that there is a committee, there is a, there's a system in place that basically makes these appointments. But what I am basically trying to, give emphasis is coming to the universities through Ramanujan, Ramalingam, or Welcome Trust fellowships. I mean, you will get these fellowships if you are competent. If you are not competent, you are not going to get these fellowships. Okay. So if you are competent, if you are, if you are talented, if you have a good CV, you have every chance to get these fellowships. And if you get the fellowship, there will be nobody who can stop you. I mean, this is an alternative route to come to the Kashmir University. I mean, see, whatever has happened, we cannot change that. Okay. I mean, I don't know what has happened, but if people say that, we cannot change that. But what we can find is we can find alternative ways to bring good, talented, and trained people back home. So that is what we are basically doing. We are providing an alternative route, a path to young researchers who are talented, who are well trained, to come back home.
So we specifically, I mean, a question related to JK scientists. We have often seen our own master's students, or those in their PhD programs also who want to go for internships. They don't find any opportunities back home itself for internships. Say, for example, we have a guy from Islamic University. He wants to do an internship at Kashmir University, or Kashmir University student, he wants to do an internship program somewhere else. So does your center address this problem that you might take, say, 6 students or 10 students a year, or after 6 months for internship programs specifically for master's students?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is how we are going to develop, that's how we are going to have, that's how we are going to do capacity building. Basically, the capacity building is to bring these undergraduate and master students for internship programs, and so that more and more and people can opt for science. We are planning, and we have applied to DBT and DST number of these programs. So they basically fund these internship programs, and those applications are under process. So hopefully from next year, we are going to start internship programs, not only for master students, but also for undergraduate students as well.
Dr. Ajaz is saying that why PhD in biotechnology, specifically related to plant sciences, has not is not getting good response when it comes to postdoctoral and faculty opportunities in India and outside as well.
So could you please repeat the question?
Said why plant biotechnology is not getting a good response when it comes to postdoctoral opportunities or faculty opportunities. I have seen mostly that biotechnology, specifically related to animal biotechnology, is getting broader this audience and has more scope. Why is it so?
No, I think, see, the point is like there are other, like, for example, you take botany department. Botany department is entirely dealing with the plant sciences. Okay. So we have at Department of Biotechnology, the reason why there are not many plant biotechnologists is because in our curriculum, we have only one subject related to plant biotechnology. Okay. So that is the reason, because so the faculty recruitment also depends on the kind of curriculum that you are going to teach to the students, right? So if you have one or two subjects only which are related to plant biotechnology, then that is the reason why there are not many plant researchers in the Department of Biotechnology. But I would say that in future we had a talk about it, and in future there are going to be people from plant sciences as well. Now, coming back to why people having PhD in plant sciences are not getting opportunities for postdoctoral fellowships outside Kashmir, that was the question.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, see, I mean, we all know that we are all from sciences. We all know that the postdoctoral fellowships entirely depend on your publications. If you have good publications, you know, uh, you have every chance to get the fellowship. Now, what I would say is that I think there is an effort at the university level to basically improve the quality of science in plant related research. Now, if the quality of the science improves, that will automatically improve the quality of the PhD students. If the quality improves, now they will have every chance to get the fellowship. I think it comes back to the kind of research that you are doing. If your research question is original, if your research question is good, you are going to publish a good paper. And if you publish a good paper, your student is going to get a postdoctoral position easily. He is going to get the fellowships, right? So it is all related. You cannot delink it.
We have always encountered that, for example, say down the line, you have started your center of interdisciplinary studies today, for example, and you will be producing a number of postdoctorates, or for example, you might be producing a number
Yeah.
of PhDs. So it's not necessary that everybody might land at in academics. So there can be opportunities beyond academics also, say for example in industries or in research institutions. So how do you as a person advise people who look in opportunities beyond academics as well?
There are, say, in every science, whether you're a plant scientist or an biotechnology or any other stream, I think there are plenty of opportunities in industries as well. We had recently a meeting. There is a pharmaceutical company, I think Sun Pharma, which is coming up, which is in they have a production house in Samba. So last time we had there was a meeting. They were saying that we are basically looking for 200 to 300 just MSc students who are well trained, who are skilled. So there are plenty of opportunities in industry as well. It's not, it is true that everybody cannot get a faculty position, and the number of PhD students that are that graduate every year is much more than the number of jobs that are available. So there are, I mean, in Kashmir context, we know there are not many industries which can recruit PhD students or master students. But outside Kashmir, I think there are plenty of opportunities in industries as well, provided the students are willing to leave. Provided students are willing to go to those places where these jobs are being offered.
So we had Altaf Saab. I just want to take this opportunity today that we had a huge number of participation today. We had over 116 responses, and if we filter those responses, I can just tell you that over 60% or 70% of the people were asking for how we can look for master's positions, how we can look for PhD positions, or how we can look for postdoctoral positions. I assume. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sure that it's very difficult to answer this, but a few words for the guys who are looking for masters, PhD, or postdoctoral positions. So before starting their masters or before starting their PhDs for looking postdoctorates, so what kind of things should they keep in mind and how they should proceed?
See, for master's students, I think when you are an undergrad student, you need to have a clear-cut goal in your mind what you want to do. It should not happen that you have come in biochemistry or biotechnology and during your master's you regret that why I have come here. So you have to make a very conscious decision at the undergraduate level what basically you want to do. Okay? So once you have that in mind, then it becomes easy to choose, that stream or that field. For master's programs, I would say, like, the Department of Biotechnology, Government of India, they have a MSc program which runs in around 15 or 20 universities. They have a biochemistry, different biotech schools in the country. So they offer master's program in biotechnology, and they also offer you scholarship during the master's program, full 2-year scholarship. So it's a scholarship based master's program that we offer here in the Department of Biotechnology. It is sponsored by DBT India. And this is one way of going for the master's program. And all these schools that are sponsored by the DBT, they have very good faculty profile, they have very good infrastructure in place. So once you finish your master's, I think you'll be very sound with the subject. So I would say majority of our students who graduate from our department, they go to big institutions in India like IISc, ICIRS, NCBS, and a lot of them, almost I would say 70 to 80% of them, they qualify the NET, JRF, and the other competitive exams. So going to a good school for master's program is, I think, very important, because it lays a very strong foundation for your for your future. So if you have a very good master's program, I think then it makes it a little bit easier to to go to qualify exams which are conducted by various top institutions in the country or outside for their PhD programs. So the master's program, I would say, it forms the base. If your base is strong, I think your next move will be slightly easier.
So we have another question from Dr. Mir Zahoor. He says that suppose a guy has had a postdoctoral program in India, and a number of postdoctoral programs in India. So can he avail opportunities at your center or largely in a state university? Because most of the people who have had opportunities in the past were those who have had postdoctorates from outside India.
No, I think you mean through these Ramanujan, Ramalingam, and Wellcome Trust fellowships?
Specifically, if someone can apply through these fellowships or other fellowships, or directly come if he has had prior experience of 2-3 postdoctorates in India, for example.
See, for Ramanujan, Ramalingam, or Wellcome Trust, I think they make it very clear that you need to be outside India to apply for these fellowships, except Wellcome, for both Ramanujan as well as Ramalingam. So if you have returned to the country, you are not eligible for the fellowship. So it is mandatory that you have to be outside India to apply for the fellowship. Okay. So if you have done postdocs within India, I think you are not eligible for Ramanujan, you are not eligible for Ramalingam. You may apply for Wellcome Trust, but I would say Wellcome Trust is much more competitive than these two fellowships. Okay. As I said in the beginning, at Center for Interdisciplinary Research, our objective is basically to get people who are well trained, who have PhD, who have good PhDs, who have good postdocs, from outside India.
So there's one question, anonymous question that I have seen being an alumni of KU, that there's a lack of animal facilities. So how is your center looking towards establishing such facilities in future, or are there provisions like establishing metabolic kits and stuff for metabolic profiling?
No, there was, yeah, it's a good question again. So I think there is still, I would say there is still not a good animal house at University of Kashmir, but Department of Biotechnology, University of Kashmir, in collaboration with University of Kashmir, we have established a new animal house which is just behind this building. So the animal house is ready, the building is ready. It just needs a little bit of the interior work. So hopefully within 6 months to 1 year, I think we are going to have a new animal house here in place.
Okay, so just a few words for Asif, one of our participants has asked a question. What makes a good CV? Is it just the publications, or is it your academic background also that makes a say when you use your CV for these kind of fellowships or for applying for faculty positions?
No, see, I would say everything has an impact. If you are a meritorious student, if you have a good academic record, I think it will make an impact. But I would say, whatever you put in CV, it is not important that everything will have the same impact. Your academic credentials will have an impact, but I would say the two main things which make a bigger impact on whether you will get the application or not is the research proposal and publications. So these two factors would have a bigger contribution in deciding about the fellowship. The other factors will have an impact, but the impact is not as high as your publications or your research proposal.
So Altaf sir, we all have one important question that largely in recent years we have seen a large this brain drain when it comes to people of Kashmir. So what steps can we take to stop this brain drain in Kashmir?
No, I would say I would say that every PhD student, for example, if somebody completes his PhD from Kashmir University, I encourage everybody here to go out for postdoc, because postdoctoral research, I think it changes the way you think about science. It trains you, it refines you as a researcher. So that I would say that postdoctoral training is extremely important to be a good researcher. I would not say that you cannot be a good researcher without postdoc, but I think it refines you, it shapes you as a good researcher. So if you get an opportunity to go for a postdoc, if you get an opportunity for a postdoctoral position outside India, I think you should go for it. Okay. Now, one way of, like, for example, I would not say somebody going for postdoctoral research after a PhD from here, I would not say it is brain drain, because I would say it's a training. Now, what we need to do is, once they get the training, they should have a platform here where they can come back and then contribute to our society and contribute for the future of our new generation. So the Center for Interdisciplinary Research has been established on those lines to bring back people who are outside India, who are skilled, who are well-trained, who are talented, and who can contribute here in the state, who can contribute here in the country, and do good research, help in capacity building, and help in addressing social problems here as well.
So we have one question from Asan Saab, coupled with some questions from a few participants, and also some prayer questions. That what are the criteria that universities, specifically, for example, Kashmir University and other universities, adopt when it comes to the hiring faculty positions? I mean, we have seen, for example, people not getting selected, even if they have very good CVs. They have got postdoctoral position. I mean, these in their CVs also, we see people being appointed who do not have even basic publications in Kashmir.
See, I would not elaborate on that, because I think there is a selection committee which sits, and it's basically their wisdom how they decide about the selection process. What I want to tell here is that we are basically providing an alternative opportunity for young researchers to come back and contribute here. And the Center for Interdisciplinary Research and other initiatives that will inshallah come up are on those lines to provide opportunities for the people who are good, who have good training, and who have the capability to do good research here at the university.
So I just want to ask you, Altaf Saab, I mean, most of the people, as I already told you, roughly around 60 to 70% of our participants have asked that how they can avail opportunities outside the country. And also a few have asked. So I would just put it this way that can you name a few fellowships, 2 or 3, in US and Canada, specifically for PhDs and then postdocs also?
No, say there are like, from the Indian side, I think there is that, what is that? The DST has started the overseas postdoctoral fellowship. That is for the Indian scientists. And they have also the overseas doctoral fellowship. So there are a couple of fellowships. See, if you have your own fellowship, whether you go for your PhD or whether you go for the postdoc, I think you have a very good chance to get it. But I would say for PhDs, there are not many fellowships from the Indian side. The Indian government does not provide many fellowships for students to go abroad and do PhD here. But what they do is basically if you are enrolled here as a PhD student, they have a pre-doctoral fellowships that are mostly aimed for US. So you can apply for that fellowship if you are a graduate student here, and then you can go to US, work there for a year or 6 months, and then come back. For postdoctoral fellowships, there is an overseas postdoctoral fellowship. I think it is being provided every year. And if you get that fellowship, it becomes much easier to get a postdoctoral fellowship either in US or any other country. Because we all know that, there are fellowships in Canada and US, but most of those fellowships are only for Canadian or US citizens. They are not open for, citizens from other countries. Now, what you can do is you can apply for these Indian overseas postdoctoral fellowships, and if you get it, you have a good chance to get a postdoctoral position. I don't remember for graduate students, there are many fellowships which Indian government provides to go abroad and do PhD. But there is, as I said, there is a fellowship which is being given to students, graduate students who are enrolled here in India, and who are enrolled here in India for their PhD, and they can go and spend some time in US and do some part of their work there.
So, I mean, Altaf Sahab, I just want to ask you one more important question that we have seen our people, they are brilliant in academics. I mean, specifically when we as a team have got calls for helping them in PhDs programs or master programs. But most of the times we as a team feel that at University of Kashmir or other places that the students do not know, for example, how to make CVs, how to approach prospective mentors, or for example, draft an email or so. So these soft skills, I mean, how your center in specific and other departments are changing the scenario and I mean helping students to acquire these soft skills vis-a-vis these points.
Again, very good question. I think there is no a systematic system here in place which addresses these things. We mostly address these things at our individual level. Whenever a student approaches us, we, in whatever way they need counseling or guidance, so we provide that. We also, for example, in our department, in the class, we always tell students about these things, how you have to approach, what you should do. But I don't know in other departments whether it is happening. I'm sure that their faculty members are also doing it, but it is mostly happening at the departmental or the individual level. There is no centralized system which basically conducts workshops or which basically organizes short courses to tell people how to, how to put a good CV, how to put a, CV, how to write an email, how to approach, the PIs, how to approach universities. So that thing is not in place, but inshallah, we are planning to have such sessions at Center for Interdisciplinary Research. We have people mostly from abroad. We have people from US, UK, Germany. So they're all, well exposed to the Western system. And we are going to have such programs at the Center for Interdisciplinary Research for both for the MSc students as well as for the PhD students.
Altaf Saab, may I just take this opportunity? You will be glad to know, and I just want to tell our viewers also that we at JK Scientists have revamped our mentorship program. It will be a complete structured process, which will have different phases, and we will just not be doing what we used to do in past. For example, we students were approaching us, and we were directly giving them to a mentor. So we'll have a structured process where these mentees will be first taught these soft skills as well. And also, I will take this opportunity for our viewers that starting October, we'll have a specific webinar spanning over 3 sessions where we have acquired different people from US, from Europe, who will be teaching our students specifically these soft skills before we start our mentorship program. So I have a question from Dr. Zahida Kamri, that given the mindset of people in Valley, do you have any programs like in other countries to host school or college students to visit your place or your university, or are there any collaborative programs with college for summer or winter internships?
So we don't have like internship for school, for schools or for the colleges, but we do get kids from different schools who visit our department or who visit labs and other places in the university. So we regularly do that. Almost every summer we get 3-4 schools who visit the department, and then we show them different labs, we show them different equipments, we show them different those scientific instruments which they have not seen. So we do it, but I would say not to the level that it should be done. But inshallah, I think we are hopeful at the center. We are going to encourage these outreach programs where we're going to invite basically schools and colleges to send their students and visit the center and see how things are done, or to see these high-end instruments. And as I said, we have submitted a couple of proposals to DBT, and for these programs to have these undergraduate students or these school-going kids for 2 days, 3 days, or 1 week at the center, to show them some basic scientific things, so that they will get motivated and encouraged to have science in their career. So we are doing it, but I would say not to the level that it should be done. We are doing it, I would say 3-4 schools or colleges, they visit our department every year. But at the center, we are planning to increase the frequency of such visitors, and also increase the duration. If we are able to have undergraduate students for 1 week at the center and show them some basic scientific things, like there are kids in the colleges, they have read, for example, agarose-gel electrophoresis, like it's a very basic technique, but they have never seen the apparatus, they have never seen how it is being done, right? Now we are planning to host them at the center and show them these basic techniques, how these things are being practically done. So this we are planning, and we are hopeful that we will get some support from DBT to sponsor these programs at the center.
We have one question from Professor Ahsan Qureshi, who says that can you just tell us briefly what's the vision of Interdisciplinary Center?
So as I said in the beginning, the Center for Interdisciplinary Research was basically established to attract talented, well-trained young scientists from abroad across various disciplines through prestigious fellowships like Ramanujan, Ramalingam, Swami, and Wellcome Trust DBT fellows. So the objective is very clear: to get trained and well trained, talented, and well-trained scientists through prestigious fellowships like Ramanujan, Ramalingam, Swami, and Wellcome Trust Fellows. So we're basically recruiting, or we're basically having people at Center for Interdisciplinary Research who have come through these fellowships. And in future as well, we are planning, as I said, around 20 fellows we are planning to have at the center in over a period of 5 years across various disciplines. And the purpose is basically to promote and encourage an interdisciplinary research ecosystem at the university, which will address not only the basic problems, which will also address problems, which have societal implications.
So, Altaf Saab, I would like to ask you a question which has been asked by Anha. She says that what steps your department or your center specifically is taking towards industrial tie-ups. I mean, we have seen most of our departments, we have large graduates coming up every year with nowhere to go. If we had some industrial tie-ups with some industry, so what your center in specific is doing to have industrial tie-ups?
So the Department of Biotechnology, I'll begin with Department of Biotechnology. We have a tie-up with the DBT, and I think not this year, we used to send our students for for a couple of weeks for the industrial training programs. So we have at Department of Biotechnology, and this year they have made it very clear that it has to be done every year. So we will send the students at the Department of Biotechnology for industrial training programs. At the Center for Interdisciplinary Research, since we don't have a master's program yet, so what we are going to do is we are basically, if we start a master's program there, I don't know yet how it is going to happen, but at the Department of Biotechnology, we have a tie-up with DBT, which sends our students for industrial training programs for 2 to 3 weeks. And I think some of our students then stayed a little longer at the industries, and it helped them as well. So at Center for Interdisciplinary Research, we are going to have partnerships with various industries that we are going to develop over a period of time. Right now, we don't have any tie-up with any industry, but that is something in our mind that we are going to have tie-up with the industry so that we can, which can help both our masters as well as PhD students as well. So we have, I would say we have it in mind, and inshallah we are going to tie up with industries, which will largely help the graduate students.
Altaf Saab, thank you so much for being with JK Scientists specifically. I mean, we appreciate you being with JK Scientists. I would like to wind up and ask you how you can give us advice as to how JK Scientists can be more inclusive, how it can be more productive, and how it can be more beneficial to the students, particularly back home.
I think if we can see, if we can have, I think Mubarak, I think a couple of years back, we did a program here with, that was mostly with this, I think 10+2 or school children. But if we can have, 1 or 2 or 3 workshops, I think Center for Interdisciplinary Research can help in that as well. We can help in organizing those workshops here, where we can, invite master students who are at the final year of their masters and give them, have sessions with them about what are the career opportunities available for them. We can have, sessions with the, PhD students here, and, and aware them about the various possibilities which are ahead, or which they can avail. So I would say regular sessions, I think because of, circumstances, sometimes it's not possible, but if we can have at least 2 to 3 one-day workshops, it necessarily doesn't need to be 3 or 4 days. If we can have one day, a very solid workshop with master students as well as with the PhD students, and then hear them what they basically want and how we can help and guide them in achieving or moving into that direction, I think that will be highly useful.
Thank you so much, Altaf Saab. I once again take this opportunity for our viewers.
I would say, sure, before we conclude, I would thank JK Scientists for giving this opportunity and talking
I
about
will
the
come to that
possibility.
point and I will
No, no,
hear more from you.
I'll say one more thing. So, we have created a very good research infrastructure at Center for Interdisciplinary Research. And in another 6 months to 1 year, we are going to augment those facilities with high-end instruments. It's a wonderful opportunity. If you are willing to come back to Kashmir University and be a part of change, I would say this is the best time to come and contribute to the research, the academics, capacity building, and addressing the societal problems that we are facing here. If we are not, I think it is our it is our responsibility to address these concerns. If we are not able to do it, I think nobody will come and do it. There are challenges, but I would say every step you take towards the goal, I think it gives you a lot of happiness. It gives you a lot of satisfaction. So it's wonderful to be here. It is good to do science here, even if we take baby steps here, but those baby steps have a huge impact here on our new generation. And you can already see there are signs of change. There are signs of change in terms of the quality of research that's being done at Kashmir University. And I'm sure if we get more good people who are dedicated to do good science, I think we are going to make a huge change in the mindset as well as the culture that prevails here in the university.
Before winding up this session, I just want to take this opportunity once again to tell our audience and also to our people back home that we at JK Scientists are revamping our mentorship program, and we'll be live in a day or two. Our outreach, sorry, this mentorship team will be live in a day or two, explaining the nitty gritties and the structure of this mentorship program. Thank you so much, Altaf Saab, for being with us today. It has been wonderful talking to you. And I understand that you have a very busy schedule. Amidst that, you took time and you just have been communicating with us, making us understand how we can make this session productive. Specifically, I will also like to thank President JK Scientist Saeed Mubarak Hussain, who has been very instrumental in designing this session and tying up with you. And I also would like to thank organizers of this session, our outreach team, Asif Bakshi, Dr. Zahur, Saima Beg, and Dr. Jamil. And I also would like to thank JK Scientists for organizing these kind of sessions. We'll be with our people again next Sunday with a different topic and with a different speaker. Thank you so much, Altaf Saab, for joining us today. Thank you so much. Before we wind up completely, one last words of wisdom for our people back home, specifically some praises or some motivation things for MSc and PhD students, and we wind up with that.
I would say, you have everything it takes to be a good researcher. You don't have to feel that you are less than anybody else. You are as good as somebody coming from JNU, from IASC, or from any other place. What you need is you need to be focused, you need to be motivated, and you need to talk and interact with people who have the experience. I'm sure they will give you good advice. Talk to people wherever you have problems. I think it is always good to talk to people because they will show you the path that you want to take. Okay. And again, I would say nothing is impossible. If you have the will, if you have the determination, I think you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Altaf Saab. Thank you so much. With this, we wind up today's session. Thank you so much for being with us, and all the participants. Thank you so much for registering with us today. Thank you so much, Altaf Saab.